Here's a walk around of the 1980s themed 79 Ford Bronco Ranger XLT. Someone got a hold of this beast back in the 80s and gave it their own styling. You can see they added some sweet paint, some pinstriping. It's hard to tell now, but there used to be the pink line under the blue line, but most of that's worn off. But it's got some sweet mag wheels, some pinstriping on the hood. Had something up here, you can kind of see it. I think it was pink lines going on that thing there, and some brush marks in blue, but most of that's kind of worn off now, sadly. But it's a 1979 Ford Bronco, mostly original. Super nice interior. This was Ranger XLT. These look like Lariat door panels to me, but maybe some of the XLTs had door panels that looked very similar. I'm not quite sure. This one's still got the original steering wheel. It's not all trash. Horn works. Of course, it's got to have a sunlight tack, because everyone had to have that back in the day. This one doesn't work and the glass is missing, but it's there just in case. One thing I respect about this Bronco is how damn clean it is. It's got like pretty much brand new looking floors. You can hardly even tell that this thing was driven, you know, under the floor mats. It's just perfect. This thing has 66,000 miles on it, and I believe it to be original just as far as miles on the body go based on the wear. The brake pad is still there, corners rubbed off a little. They're always rubbed off, but I've had a lot of Broncos and old Fords with over 150,000 miles or so, and they're a lot more worn out. Hard to say if this is the original floor mat, but the carpet kind of matches. It feels the same, and it's hardly worn at all. The seats have been redone, I assume in the 80s. They're pretty cool. Still in very nice condition. Center console has a carpeted top on it. But the actual carpet in the Bronco is very nice. This is a non-air conditioning Bronco, so it doesn't have any vents here. It doesn't have a vent there either, or over there. This one's just heat, so it just has defrost and floor for the heat. Someone put a sweet radio in it. Still has a seatbelt buzzer. This thing just fires up real nice. It's got a 400. It just runs flawless. It's got a 2-barrel on it, factory. The motor was rebuilt at one time. It's got the hood lock in here. You can lock it with your key. Even has the bumpers. Most of the ones I had, those bumpers were missing for some reason or another. Let's take a look under the hood. So, this is a factory 400. It was either rebuilt or just totally taken apart and repainted, and no one's gonna go to the trouble to pull the entire motor to paint it, so I'm assuming that it's been at least somewhat overhauled. Hard to say, I don't have paperwork on it, but all original setup. Still got the original distributor and coil pack and all that stuff. 2-barrel carb with automatic choke. Makes it real nice. This one still has all the emissions equipment on it, and it all works. This does have a catalytic converter on it, even though it has headers. Aftermarket, obviously. But runs and drives flawless. I bet it would pass emissions. We don't have emissions here, so I don't really care, but runs great. This still has the original Ford windshield. I've never had one with the original Ford windshield. It does have a crack in it, and whoever had it before me duct taped it up, but you can kind of see the outline here. Piece of glass is cracked. Windshields are $200, so it's not a big deal. One thing you may notice is these funky mirrors. So these, I think, are Jeep mirrors. Not really sure. Not really sure why they put them on here. They're not exactly the prettiest. What it's supposed to have on it is these triangle mirrors like this. That's factory. But it doesn't, so I don't know. They must have thought that was a cool thing to do in the 80s. The trouble with it is they bondoed over the factory holes. So those will need to be re-drilled to put factory mirrors back on. This Bronco has all of its trim, which is nice. Most of them are missing it. Even has a taillight trim. Interior wise, this thing's pretty sweet. Someone put a headliner on the roof. These did not come with a headliner on the roof. There's also interior panels to match on both sides. Some big speaker boxes in the back. And look how nice this carpet is back here. Most of mine just don't have carpet. They've been gutted over the years and not taken care of. Still has a matching headliner up here. This one even has a roll bar in it. Just a little one, just connects and goes over. Not a full cage, but might help for something. It's got the old school dome light up there, which works. None of my old crappy Fords work. One thing that blew my mind the first time I opened the door on this thing, it was dark out, and I noticed there was footwell lighting. And I was like, holy crap, I've never seen that. This is actually factory Ford bulbs. So you can kind of see one over there, and you can see it there. That was, you can see the part number is still on it there, but I don't know if all Ranger XLTs had that, or if this was just an add-on. I know my Ranger XLT over here didn't have it, but that thing was totally gutted and not original anyways, so it could have been removed. This Bronco does have a little rust. Most of them do. Luckily, patch panels are 25 bucks, and if you're handy with a welder or whatnot, it's not a big deal. Matching paint's the hardest, obviously, but this Bronco is a perfect candidate for a restoration all original, because the body's all there. Just needs a couple little patch panels or whatever. It's got a little rust, or the paint flaked off there. Easy fix, no need to get a new fender. But if I were to keep this Bronco, I would have a professional shop fix it and repaint it, and this would just be a super nice Bronco. One thing to note is this is not a 1979 tailgate. This is an 80s tailgate. Now, the shells are actually the same. This is a true 79 shell, and they look the same. One thing you'll know is that an 80s tailgate will fit on a 79 Bronco. There was a changeover here, I'm not sure when, it was early 80s, but I'll roll up the window here. The only difference is the glass. So obviously this glass has defrost stuff in it, the little lines. 70s Broncos didn't have that. The only thing about this is you put an 80s tailgate on, you're gonna have to swap the glass out, because I'll show you. Oh, wrong way. It's nice that it actually works. I've never had one that works, not one that's this old. So the glass has the same kind of shape, but you can see the corners aren't shaped the same, so it doesn't quite go all the way up. It leaves little air gaps in the corners, but that's easy enough to replace. Just a new piece of glass, couple $100, and then you'd have a perfect thing. This Bronco has a sweet map pockets here. I've never had one of those either. Throw your maps in there when you're cruising around the country. Man, that door closes nice. This Bronco has, your standard 354 front, 355 rear. It's got new ball joints, new U-joints, new axle joints. It's basically all new as far as the running gear goes. I put a new transmission in it, rebuilt C6. The thing just runs and drives flawless. There's no lift on this. It's got 33 12.5 15s on it, just the way Ford intended it to be, so you can go off-road it. It's got a trailer hitch. It's got a fuel tank skid plate. That's pretty cool. One thing that's really cool, has a rear sway bar. You didn't see that very often. Also, with that, this one has the dual shocks up front. You can see them. There's one, there's another. That way, you can jump in and whatnot. You probably shouldn't, but you could. This one has a little bit of body damage here. It's kind of hard to see in the light. See the little waves. Who knows what happened? I imagine someone was racing a Camaro back in 1984, drunk on the back roads and slid off into a ditch or something, but I think this door might have been replaced at one point. The color matches, but obviously it doesn't have the 80s stripe that continues through. But other than that, it's a very solid Bronco. No dents in this grille whatsoever. None of the plastic's broken out. All the lights work, all the trim is there. The entire drivetrain is basically new or rebuilt. The roof is really nice, not rusted out. It's a little dirty, but even the fiberglass topper isn't all faded. Most of them look pretty bad after all these years, but this one looks really nice. You can kind of see the tint is a little bit purple. I kind of like it just because it's just old school. But it's a pretty nice Bronco overall. It's actually the nicest Bronco I've ever owned for sure. Even the dash pad is flawless in this thing. There's no cracks, no waves. All the fake wood trim is in here. Gauge clusters, nice and clean. Kind of bad lighting, but you can see it. Just a sweet old Bronco. Man, that door still closes nice. It's nothing like an old door, just closing good. But yeah, 1979 80s themed Bronco.